So there's been an incident in Brittany, in Carnac. A few of you have asked me to comment on this, so I will do. I've had a look into it. We're actually in Lytham again, in St Anne's on Sea, and I'm walking along the seafront here. It's beautiful. I'll just flip the camera around so you can see the sea. You can go quite a long way out in St Anne's. And the tide's just turned, it's on its way in now. So in about an hour, all this will be covered with sea. Just to prove, after the last video, that, you know, there is actually sea here, you know. Over there is Blackpool, you can see the pleasure beach. The Pepsi Max, the big one. So, about Carnac. Well, for a start, whenever I hear stories like this, when the media has come out and you get massive coverage, I'm always very sceptical, and this is no exception. It's been in so many newspapers all over France and all over England as well. You know, well, how did they get hold of such a story? Why is it so? You know, where did it get its legs from, basically? Do you remember back in 2007, I think it was about 16 years ago, there was a whole thing about the Hill of Tara in Ireland, and they were saying basically that the powers that be had decided to build over some of the site. Well, yeah, it sounded terrible, and there was demonstrations going on around Tara, and there was all sorts of people collecting money for the cause and all this sort of thing. But well, I was in Malta at the time, and I remember talking to a guy in the hotel. Looked like a businessman, and he turned out to be from the Irish, for the government, and he was part of the board that was covering Tara and the building. So I asked him about it, and he basically said, "What do you think was stupid? Do you think we'd build over the Hill of Tara?" And I thought, well, no, maybe not. So what it actually was the M4 motorway, which is over 2 miles away from Tara. So it wasn't anything to do with the site, they were just putting an extra lane in there. So they did that. Oh, by the way, we're at the sea now. I must have walked a long way. So this guy basically said that no, we're not doing anything of the sort. And looking back now, all these years later, the work's finished at Tara, and everything's fine. There was never a problem, but it was just the media had built it up so massively. Look how quick the tide's coming in now. I think I better turn around and head in the other direction. So we go over to Brittany at least once a year, and we visit the main sites of Menhirs, Carnac, and Carnac. That's how you pronounce one. And some few other sites that I know of that I take people to, and it is beautiful. It's a very, very special place. So what about these megaliths and this story? Well, I'd say it really has, you know, hit big. It was in Le Monde on the 2nd of July, and Le Monde said at least 38 menhirs were destroyed to build a new hardware shop. So, yeah, well, if that was the case, one of these main sites, that would have been horrible. But knowing the French and knowing how they love their monuments, I just couldn't see it. So I had a look into it. It was actually a guy who calls himself an archaeologist, probably freelance archaeologist, called Christian Obels. Now, he's one that started all this. He made the complaint And of course anybody can call themselves an archaeologist. If you're not working for a big firm, you could just say, well, that's what I do. But anyway, he's the one that started it all. So I found the site, I found where it was, and it's nowhere near any of the other sites. It's just basically in the middle of nowhere. Well, on the side of it, a housing estate actually. But you've got to remember, over in Brittany, you look at the maps, and all the local maps just show in all the forest and standing stones. It's as if the whole area was covered in standing stones once upon a time. So you're not going to find anywhere that didn't have any standing stones. So I found some photos as well out of the various newspapers, and so what there is there's no standing stones, basically. Nothing you would call a standing stone. Because we know, don't we, that standing stones in Britain and in Brittany have deep socket holes, usually about a third of the size of the stone. The menhir is slotted into the socket and then packed tightly with curbstones. There's nothing like that. If there ever was, it was years and years and years ago. But what there is just a pile of stones that go along a field boundary. And they're only a couple of meters, or about a metre tall at the most. So if they ever were standing stones, they ain't now. They haven't been for a long, long time. They're just a wall, basically, a field boundary. This thing sort of happens, doesn't it? It's happened in the past. In England, it happened a lot. We look at in Sharp up in Cumbria, in eastern Cumbria. There was a shop avenue that went for like a couple of miles from Stone Circle to a chambered tomb. That's all more or less gone, apart from one stone. So those stones build up the boundary walls. They build up the dry stone walls now. So yeah, it was horrible that these things happened, but that seems to be the case. So all I can say really is that, well, they're building a Menhirs bricolage store on the site. For anybody who doesn't know Menhirs bricolage, it's like the English B&Q shops. It's a chain of huge hardware shops, really, so you get your tools and your paint from. So I got my paint from a couple of days ago. So that's it. I mean, that's the case. 38, well, there wasn't 38 anyway, there was more like 10 or 12 when you actually counted it. It was just like usual overstatement, isn't it? So, no. Storm in a teacup is what I say. It ain't true. Please do press subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm going to be able to build the channel and put more of these videos out. So, thanks for listening. I hope I've put that, put it to rest and answered it. Maybe not in the way you like, but it's not how what I see anyway. So, bye for now, folks.